I've got a golden ticket.
That's a winner!
Good Saturday morning, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us on this beautiful Saturday morning at DraftKings at Casino Queen. John, we got a lot to talk about today. I want to get right into we got Breeders' Cup next weekend.
Yeah.
And that is one of my favorite weekends in horse racing. It's next Friday and Saturday. I will be focusing in on next Saturday, as Friday are the babies, and they call it the Future Stars of Tomorrow, which is a lot of fun to watch. A little bit, it's all hard to wager on, but a little bit harder when you're dealing with horses that have only run sometimes 1, 2, or 3 times in their life, and they're growing every day. So, one day they just might be better than the other. When you get into the 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old horses, they're already grown, and you don't necessarily know what you have completely, but you got a pretty good idea. So,
those are the star horses of tomorrow.
They are the future stars of tomorrow, right? So, it's a lot of fun, and if you're a gambler in general, you still want to be in action, which I will be. I'm sure I'll make a few small wagers on the future stars of tomorrow.
That's the thing about the horses, they're always fun, no matter if you're an expert on it or you're just, nothing about it. But it's fun regardless.
Well, so exciting for us here on the Winning Ticket. Next Saturday will be our 1-year anniversary, and I just want to thank everybody that has, put these long hours and efforts into this show. And I can't believe we're at a year already. It has absolutely flown by, and I just want to thank anybody who's at any part of it or watched the show. We really appreciate your support. We're growing, and we're getting to where we really want to be, and we're moving forward. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. John?
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys, liking and subscribing to everything. That's how we get here. That's how we make it happen. It doesn't happen without you guys, so we do appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, we got a lot of neat things on in the future, and starting with November 12th, John's going to be in Death Valley, and I can't wait. We're going to do our first live remote while we're here. I'll be here at DraftKings at Casino Queen, and you will be doing your segment from the stadium.
Yeah, 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
Clemson plays Louisville, so usually I'm going to the Clemson-Louisville game in Louisville to bet on the horses and go to the football game, but this year it'll be live from Death Valley, so we're really excited about that.
Yeah, so speaking of, we'll go back to the horses for a second. Next Saturday, are you going to be wagering on a few?
Oh, for sure.
Who are you going to call?
I'll be putting some boxes and some trifectas and some crazy stuff together, David. It'll be fun,
Who are you going to call?
David knows as much about the horses as I know as little. So I don't know much about it, but David's going to help us out, and we'll put some winners together for next Saturday, guys.
I'm laying an over/under on how many texts I get next Saturday. Well, let's lay a line. Let's lay a line because what do you think? 6?
It's got to be
7?
in the dozens.
Yeah, that's
The
okay.
dozens.
No, I want them to text me. The thing about horse racing is, we're going to do a special and we're going to put it out. I believe I'm going to try to have it out by Thursday evening instead of Friday morning because, give a chance to people. It's going to be it's not going to be short, right? Because there's a lot of information to cover. But really, before I make a wager, I want to see the horses on the track. I want to. I want to see if they're sweating too much. I just want to see how they're reacting, to the climate around them, and that's really when I make my wager. So it's very hard to give out your picks in advance, but we're going to do it. I don't know exactly who's joining me this next Wednesday and Thursday to record, but it'll be great. It'll be whoever comes on. It'll be great. It'll be a lot of great information, and we'll be posting.
How
about
many
that.
races are we looking at for the Breeders' Cup?
Breeders' Cup has 14, so 5 on five on Friday, and 9 on Saturday.
My kind of day there. 9
Yeah,
on
but
Saturday.
there is 12 races on the whole entire card, so you have an undercard with other stakes races that aren't as big, but they're racing for millions of dollars. And I mean, I had an old friend tell me once. I said, "Are you excited for Breeders' Cup Day?" And he goes, "No." And I said, "Why not?" He goes to him, an 8-horse race on an average day was the same as a Breeders' Cup race. I said, "Well, how can it be the same to you?" And he says, "Well, you can bet it, right?"
Yeah, hey, that's the nice thing about it. The horses are always fun, whether they're racing for millions or racing for thousands. It's still fun regardless. But you got the big names in the Breeders' Cup,
Yeah.
the Bob Bafferts of the world, and
Yeah.
he'll always have the favorite, right? He'll always be a 10-1 or better favorite horse.
10-1? No, you're never getting 10-1 on Bob
okay.
Baffert. Yeah, more like even money. But there is a horse running in the Breeders' Cup Classic, which is the last race of Saturday, and the horse is listed at 4-5, which means if you put up $5 to win, you're going to win 4, so you get a $9 return on your money. But I think it's going to be much lower, which presents a lot of value if you like something else. So, we'll talk about that a little later. And there's ways of turning horses like that into a value, right? You can key that horse on top of another horse you like to run first and second, called an exacta, and then you could bet a straight exacta to make that 4-5 shot, 3-5 shot, 2, 3, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1. So we'll talk about all that on a special edition of the Winning Ticket sometime this week. Like I said, I'll be posting it ahead of time, and be sure to check that out. It's going to be great. Let's talk before we get Micah Mills is going to be joining us here in a couple minutes. Let's talk quickly about last night's World Series game. The Phillies, man. I was asked a lot of who I would take. I was asked it a lot last night of who I would take before the game, and and we'll see what happens. Long series to go, but I didn't see any value at minus 185 with the Astros, even though they haven't lost a game yet in the postseason this year. But I saw little value at plus 160 with the Phillies, and I think that's what I ended up going with. And that's what I was saying. If you're going to bet, either just watch it or take the value with the Phillies. They are hot, and reminder of the 2011 Cardinals on the run they went on, and they weren't supposed to be there either, right? So Phillies barely got in, and they're crushing the ball. And the other factor with last night's game, I mean, do you feel bad for Verlander? I mean, no World Series wins. He's had an incredible career, and I mean, when you're up 5-0 going to the fifth inning, right? I don't know what was the score going into the fifth, but he was up 5. The Astros were up 5-0 at one point.
No, they were the fourth. Going to the fourth.
Okay, so they're 5-0. Verlander's never won a World Series game. You know that you don't know it, but you feel like it could blow. He could blow up at any time. I mean, it's a World Series game. Let's pull him. You don't have to even pull him. It's 5-3, right? When it's 5-3 and there's men on base, pull him. You could feel it, right? You could feel the comeback mounting, and I think we talk about this all the time. Being a manager is not all analytics; a lot of it's feel, right?
Absolutely.
And if I'm sitting at home and I don't know how to be a manager, it's like with the Cardinal game, the first Cardinal postseason game against the Phillies. You could feel what was going on in the ninth inning.
Yep.
You're right. So I don't know. It's not that simple, and I know there's a lot more to it, but it seems like it's gonna happen, and I don't know. What are your
Yeah, I mean,
thoughts?
well, so it's kind of like pulling that struggling quarterback when you got the backup on there. Sometimes you need a spark.
Oh,
You
look at
know,
we'll give you for instance Monday Night Football. It didn't work out, but Belichick quickly pulls Mac Jones down 10-0 after he throws that interception and two quick
yeah,
touchdowns
Zappy
by
comes in and
Zappy. Yeah,
throws two quick touchdowns. And they get a spark.
yeah.
That's
It
what you
didn't
need.
work in the long run, but
In
it's
the
still
baseball, sometimes you need to get out of the inning and get that fresh arm in there. So what a comeback though. I mean, it was 5-0.
yeah.
Next thing you know, it's 6-5, and the Phillies win at 6-5 with Real Muto's home run in the 10th.
Trash cans weren't working.
No, trash cans weren't working last night, David. The
I know.
Astros didn't have their trash cans, I guess.
That's never going to go away as long as I'm
Yeah,
around. I have to
yeah,
say, I
yeah.
mean, it's
That,
I mean it's at the point where it's amusing at this point to me, right?
right.
I mean, it's just going to be a joke forever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Great comeback by the Phillies last night. We'll talk about more of that. We have Ryan Kinder coming on towards the end of the first hour, but uh, we are going to take a little tiny, like, I wouldn't say break, but Micah Mills is going to join us, and we're going to talk about last week's UFC 280 card. Man, that was exciting, and I got some questions for Micah. So, Micah, when you get a chance, come on in and join us. Let's whatever we got to do, but let's get Micah in here. I don't know if we're taking. All right, thanks for being patient, everyone. We had to get Mike in here. Micah, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, as always.
Yeah, all right. I got some questions for you, buddy.
Fire away.
All right, because I really got into the fights. Earl Barron, who was with us last week, afterwards we went and watched the fights, and I got some scoring questions for you. I mean, I want you to go over each fight, all five. So I guess should I go in order and ask you the questions as we go?
Please do.
All right, so let's start with the girls' fight, and let's get your analysis on how that went.
As expected, I think my prediction was for Manon Farrow to win by decision. Um, Good, solid fight, but overall, not a ton of flashes or anything out of the ordinary. It was pretty much exactly, she stuck to her game plan. She did as to be expected, was solid on the feet, was solid on the mat, and walked away with that decision. I thought overall it was pretty much expected. That's how I saw that fight playing out.
All right, yeah, I really enjoyed. Man, I have seen plenty of fights before, but nothing on. I saw the Conor McGregor card and I really didn't know what I was looking at. And as every time I keep watching this, I learn more and more, especially through you and Prodigy. I learn more and more about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed the girls' fight. Let's go to the next one.
Yes. Next one was Beneil Dariush versus, excuse me, I'm sorry, pulling this back up, versus Matus Gamrot. Now, I was wrong on this one. So, Dariush, kind of a perennial contender at that lightweight division. He's been around for a while. He's fought a lot of the top tier talent. However, he has shown that he is a lot tougher than most people give him credit. And it's been sort of his storyline throughout the UFC. Fundamentally, I think from the beginning, he's not been the most marketable guy from the standpoint of, even though he's a nice, very normal guy, that's not really what puts butts in seats in the long run. So I think a lot of people had underestimated him coming into this fight. Matus Gamrot had been on a very solid streak going in, but showed that he is chinny, and if I can be so blunt, I think he kind of quit on the fight. He got clipped very quickly and was, in my opinion, was winning the fight. Actually, according to the judges' scorecards, was winning the fight, but gets clipped in the third round by a very tough Dariush, and that's all it took to put him away. Very, very low on his stock right now, Matus Gamrot.
We had Gamrot last week plus 500
for the KO.
For the KO,
yes.
Did it happen?
Yeah, it did not.
Oh.
It happened Oppo. So he lost.
You have to give John a pass on not watching any of this because Clemson was playing at the same time.
Yeah, I called David in a panic about halftime. I called him for a meeting of the minds. I was panic button. Oh man,
I called the wrong guy for a meeting.
I was calling everybody for a meeting of the minds to help me here. You know, it's I was in panic mode. You know, I thought the season was over last week.
So while I'm watching the fights, I've got the fights here, the Clemson game here, and so
I was trying to follow both as well. Scary stuff.
Yeah, it was.
How are you feeling? How's your heart?
We woke up from the nightmare about the middle of the fourth quarter. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Will Shipley with a 50-yard run to help us wake up from that nightmare.
As you've learned, somehow, some way, we're talking about UFC, and all roads lead back to college football.
That's right. Absolutely. As they
all
should.
roads lead back to where the Blue Ridge yawns its greatness.
That's exactly right. That's exactly as they should. You know, if there's one thing that goes hand in hand, it's the UFC and Clemson football. Dabo Swinney has, you know, he's a huge fight fan, I'm sure.
I mean,
but I had Gamrot plus 500 by knockout last week, so it didn't happen.
No, it did not.
You would have heard.
I don't even remember.
You would have got a text from me.
So he just won by decision.
He lost. He got knocked out. Gamrot got knocked out, which is what nobody
saw.
That
would have been, what would have knockout on the other side have been? 15, 20 to 1?
Probably. It would have been up there.
Wow.
And to be fair, he was winning the fight. I thought he was fairly dominantly, but he's shown again that A, Dariush is a tough out, and B, he's chinny. And he likes to, once he gets clipped.
Explain chinny. I think I know what it means, but go ahead.
Chinny just more likely to get clipped, and they say that the older you get in the fight game, just the more times that you get hit repeatedly, eventually your body gets to a point where it just can't take the same damage.
So let's talk about this. I'm learning also about endurance, right? So unless it's a title fight, a feature fight, or it's been arranged as a 5-round fight, all other fights are 3 rounds.
Correct.
So you could take the same 2 fighters and have a completely different opinion for those extra 2 rounds.
100%.
Prodigy and I, we talked about that before.
100%. Yeah. And that leads us kind of to the next fight, which was the Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan. And again, very controversial decision going into it. And it goes back to that score system. And of course, fans are all up in arms. Sean O'Malley won by decision. He is, I think, pegged as sort of the UFC's new poster boy. He's very marketable. He comes out with the tattoos and the loud mouth and the pink hair and the sunglasses. Almost complete opposite from a guy in Petr Yan who doesn't even speak English. And so when you think about marketability and you think about what the UFC is going to want to push, a guy like Sean O'Malley is perfect for them. And that's why a lot of fans are going and saying, okay, rigged decision, UFC trying to promote their guy. However, one thing O'Malley did prove to the world is that he is for real, because Petr Yan, former bantamweight champion, he's a absolute killer, and O'Malley went in there and made it as close of a fight as he needed to. And it always goes back to, if you put it in the judges' score, or in the judges' hands for a decision, you never know what's going to happen.
So I'm gonna go with this from the naked eye, for somebody who's not as experienced as you are. You know, of course, all my parlay tickets had Yan, right?
Yep.
So once again, I try to take that out of what I'm watching. You lose, right? On the fair and square, you know. But from somebody who's inexperienced watching fights, I didn't think it was close.
You thought?
I thought Yan clearly won.
I did too.
Okay? So with that, in fact, okay, I'll take the other side of it. The bar's going crazy when the decision comes down, right? Where we were at. And I'm like, yeah, what happened? And some guy randomly, I'm walking around talking to people because I want to know what their thoughts. And he said, oh yeah, O'Malley had it. Absolutely. I scored it 29-28. I'm like, okay, well that's great. I don't know how to score. So, you know, I figured, okay, so tell me how you got to that conclusion. And what I found out was he bet O'Malley. That's how he got to that conclusion.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously. Well, of course O'Malley won.
Of course O'Malley won.
Yep.
And like, okay, so most of the people that I talked to that said O'Malley won had wagers on O'Malley.
100%.
So you can't, and okay, fair for me too. I bet Yan, right? So maybe that swayed what I was looking at also.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be the first to admit, if my money's on it, I'm going to be swayed in the decision-making process, right? But I didn't think it was close.
Well, Yan
if it was close,
takedowns.
I could have.
6 takedowns
Yeah.
for Yan.
Right.
And, you know, a fair amount of control time. I think what it showed is that right now there is a big debate within the MMA community and the UFC community on this scoring system. And it's frankly, like I said, the 10-point must scoring system from boxing. And it's just something that was adapted early on because they wanted to find a way to accurately judge these rounds. I think that there needs to be a better format or a better education to both fans, fighters, staff and the judges themselves on what is the criteria for winning a fight. And right now, there's just nothing that's truly out there. I think they can point somebody in the right direction on what is a definitive victory, what's a 10-9 round, what's a 10-8 round, what's a 10-7 round, if and when in the rare occasion that even happens.
I will say that I enjoyed. I'd never been in an atmosphere with so many people. This place was packed.
Where were you watching?
I probably shouldn't say.
That's okay.
Right?
No worries.
Just because of, I don't want to get in trouble.
No worry.
I wasn't at the strip club, okay? my wife knows where I was at. I'm just saying I'm not allowed to say where I was at, right? Okay. It was a big facility that had some adult beverages with a lot of screens, right? Well, that's all we're going to say. And it was packed.
Yep.
And I just couldn't believe, I mean, how many people totally weren't paying attention to college football.
Yep.
Sorry, Clemson. That were so immersed in this fight. And, man, you got people jumping up, pushing each other. You know what I mean? Hey, that's oh my god! Whoa! It's crazy. It's just like watching a football. It's like
Yeah.
can't believe that happened. And you should have heard the O's and the oohs and the
Yeah.
takedowns and the punches to the face. And I'm like, man, this is.
So
It took it to another level for me as now a new fan of the sport. I just can't believe where have I been for the last 20 years or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Well,
30 years, whatever it's been. Because I'm like, what have I missed?
absolutely.
My first introduction was Conor McGregor. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
It does not.
And that didn't even hook me, right? It didn't hook me on a regular basis. Saturday hooked me.
Good.
Right?
That's
It
what I love to
absolutely.
hear.
Nah, I can't wait. And I know my friend David is gonna love hearing that for me because now you got me.
Yep.
You finally got me.
Good.
That's all I'm gonna
That's what
tell
we love
you.
to hear. And Dana
Especially
White,
the wagering part.
Dana White put it really well, I think. And he said if you were at a big sporting event and you have a football game going in one corner, you got a soccer game going in another corner, you got a baseball game going over here, and a fight breaks out over here, everybody's watching the fight.
Yeah.
And that's just because it's exciting. Anything can happen. There is that level of just uncertainty that goes into every single fight. And these fighters put so much on the line when they walk into that cage, both from their training camp's perspective, from the risks that they're taking, both their career and their health. It's very compelling.
Yeah. And something very interesting. I had a talk with Evan Elder, who's going to join us on the 12th. He's a young fighter training in Florida, and I cannot wait to have him on. And I know you're going to have you on with him.
Perfect.
And so you can really drill him. And he has told me, and this is unbelievable. He's never been in an altercation outside of the ring, ever. And I'm not going to say that doesn't really surprise me because this is their craft, this is their art, this is what they. But he is like the nicest guy I've ever talked to. One of them, right? And you was like, where does this? Because there's got to be something inside you to turn you when you get
Flip
in
that switch.
right. So whatever that switch is, like I'm talking to one person, and I'm trying to imagine another, and I can't get there, right? And it just takes a different kind of person to be able to flip that switch. Right?
100%. And it's very interesting because you see kind of the whole spectrum of personality types in the fight game. You have your guys that are in church every Sunday, and then when the cage door
and the guys
locks,
that don't,
and then the guys that don't, and then the guys that are at the bar every Sunday. So or heaven forbid, in jail. Like there's just a very big mix of personality types, and I think it always comes back to you either have it or you don't. And Joe Rogan is famous for saying, anytime somebody approaches him and says, "Hey, I want to be a fighter. I want to go into the UFC," his question is always, "Is that your only option? Is that the only thing you want to do with your life? Because if you have any backup plan, it's the same thing with Navy SEALs." And you hear a lot of Navy SEALs talk about.
It's quite a comparison.
Well, I think the closest thing to or the most extreme thing you can do in this world is fighting or being a soldier, being a fireman. You hear Navy SEALs say that going into their training camps, the buds and their Hell Week, the guys that make it aren't necessarily the best athletes, aren't necessarily the most conditioned, or there's all sorts of people that try and do it. The guys that make it through are the guys that have no other option, that they don't have a plan B, and they just have to say, this is my life, and I'm willing to go to the ends of the earth and push my body further than I ever thought I could to do that. Very similar comparison with fighters in the UFC.
Yeah, I'm more than excited when Evan comes on to explain his regimen and how he lives his life. I know, faith is a big part of his life, and he's about as clean as guy as you'll ever meet. And it's just really amazing the dedication it takes. I mean, I don't have it.
Absolutely.
Right?
I would imagine most of those guys have a respect for their craft that has little to nothing to do with just getting into a brawl outside of their craft, if you will.
Yeah, and you see fighters, hey, after the fight, they'll pound him, and you see a lot of boxers, some of them hate each other, right? And I'm sure there's some UFC or MMA fighters that dislike each other, but what you see, and I have seen it in a short amount of time I'm watching it, they give each other hugs afterwards, and they just beat the crap out of each other, and they're giving each other, like, great job, and I'm like, dude, you just knocked me the
Absolutely.
out, I'm still going to be a little hot. I mean, that's just me personally.
that is a
but having a
perfect-
respect for the
Absolutely.
for the sport.
And a perfect segue into our next bout, which was the bantamweight title fight between Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw. Now, if you watch that fight, you know that TJ dislocated his shoulder early on into the fight, and from there,
I didn't know that.
he did. So that's a big point of kind of contention right now. He's getting a lot of blowback from the MMA community. I'm really, really curious to hear what Evan's thoughts are on this, because the reality is so many of these fighters go into the fight in some sort of compromising position, whether it be an injury that they're kind of hiding, something that they're battling through, and that's due to a 8 to 12 week training camp that is, again, one of the most brutal things you can go through. So TJ came out and said that in April he blew out his shoulder. It was coming in and out of the socket like 20 separate times throughout camp, but he still felt as though he was prepared to go into the octagon. Sure enough, within, I think, the first minute, his shoulder had come out. He spent the next round basically on the ground protecting himself, covering up, and then was finished the following round by Aljo, to be expected. So I'm curious to hear what Evan's thoughts are on that, because it's sort of a double-edged sword. You either show up, fight, and you're hurt, and you put an inferior product out there, or you pull out, you don't get paid, and you get kind of all the scrutiny and criticism from the MMA community of being a guy who pulls out, who's scared to fight, all those.
Yeah, but that was a title fight.
That was a title fight.
Yeah,
you predicted that Aljo was going to kind of grapple him into submission. Is that kind of what happened?
Yes, more or less. It ended with a technical TKO, but ultimately Aljo took him down, beat the crap out of him, took his back, and then just beat him till the referee
So real quick,
pulls him off.
if he doesn't fight and he says he's hurt, right? He doesn't. He says he's hurt.
I'll take one.
I would think that taking a loss there moves him back towards getting another opportunity at the title. So
Absolutely.
if he says I'm hurt, he may be able to fight for the title the next time or the time after that. This loss takes him away. So he must have felt, even if he is hurt, he has an opportunity to win.
Yes, and he made that claim that in his previous fights he had similar shoulder injuries. If you recall, this was the guy that was popped for the EPO steroids and spent a 2-year suspension. At the beginning of that suspension, he got double shoulder surgery, and that was a part of his healing process. But he claimed that prior to that suspension, he had gone into his previous 2 or 3 fights with shoulder issues. So he thought it was something that was manageable. He could handle it. His shoulder had never come all the way out during camp. It had subluxed, which is kind of where it pops in and back out real quick. Either way,
Thanks for the visual.
It's a tough situation to be in, right?
Yeah.
Because you're compromised, but you also feel like you need to fight. You need to pay the bills. He's been out for 2 years. This is a title shot. It's not something
A lot more than
from.
people are counting on.
Correct.
You, right?
Correct. Just a tough place to be.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. Yeah,
But
if he gets healthy, right, he'll work his way back up.
Absolutely.
So Aljo's still got the bantamweight belt.
Correct.
So
and then it'll be him and O'Malley for the title fight. No,
so
I thought the winner of that.
Was what is supposed to be. Now this is another wrinkle in the fight game. Initially, right after UFC 280, Dana White at the press conference, of course, first thing they ask him, is O'Malley next to fight Aljo? He said, I don't know. And that is because there's another guy who's coming out of retirement, supposedly, named Henry Cejudo, who is a former, who was a former 125-pound champion and 135-pound champion, and retired kind of at the top of the game. He's now saying he's coming back. He's a former Olympic gold medalist in freestyle wrestling as well. One of the best fighters really to ever do it. He's definitely on the Mount Rushmore. And so Dana White, I think, is saying him versus Aljamain Sterling next, and give O'Malley one more kind of tune-up fight.
Okay, so if you're O'Malley, right, even though there's time in between, would you take a chance that you lose in between? I'm personally not fighting anybody till I get the title fight opportunity.
I'm 100%. I think
that's
that's
just
what
my
he'll
thoughts.
do.
Like, I don't want a tune-up fight. That was my tune-up fight. I won.
Hey, man, kick back for a few months.
Yeah.
Train, get better,
get
improve.
Healthy, right?
Yeah, heal up whatever injuries you dealt with.
I don't want
throughout
a tune-up
camp.
fight.
But more importantly, O'Malley is a superstar. And so he's kind of got this. He's got a big YouTube following. He's got a big Twitch following. He's very likable within the community. And so he can spend the next 8 months to a year really not fighting and just promoting himself, building his businesses elsewhere, and that's only going to increase his stock versus going and fighting another top
I
contender.
want to ask Evan
potentially
that. What would
losing.
he do?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be very
No,
curious.
you know what I'm going to say? What are you going to do when you're in that spot?
That's right. I
That's
love
right.
I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love this young man.
Yep.
I do. I can't wait for you guys to hear him. He's well spoken. He's going to be a lot of fun when
Yep.
we have him.
Well,
It's a big card on November 12th. Also,
huge card. Would love to talk about it. So my favorite fighter, a guy that I've been following really since we were both in high school, is one Michael Chandler versus Dustin Poirier, and that'd be a lightweight fight at 155. Chandler is currently a plus 150, with Dustin Poirier being a minus 175. Chandler, again, St. Louis guy, went to Northwest High School, Missouri All-American.
I'm sure they're buddies.
They're friendly.
Yeah.
For sure. Actually, there's been some back and forth. There's been some
Really?
beef between him and Poirier.
What about Evan Elder?
Between him and Elder.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they're buddies.
Yeah,
100%.
I'm sure they're buddies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's 2 weeks from today.
That is
That is
correct.
correct.
Right.
Sorry, he will not be paying attention to that
you'll
part.
be,
He will be in Death
Yeah,
Valley.
we got a lot going on. We got
That's
the
right.
broadcast from the Clemson game and Clemson Louisville game, and then the UFC fights. So we'll have
That's
a lot
right.
going on.
Well, again,
We'll
if
throw
there's
in some other football games in between all that.
if we've learned one thing, it's that UFC and Clemson football, they go hand in hand. I mean, they're two peas in a pod, right?
Yeah, I mean, for at least half the crew here. Right.
But this will be a very interesting fight for these two, Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler. Again, two of the more exciting fighters in, I think, the history of the UFC. Chandler coming off of Fight of the Year last year with Justin Gaethje, and also probably Knockout of the Year just this past year against Tony Ferguson. If you guys saw that, was the front kick KO.
Hold on 1 second. Who you like? Give me a winner. Terrible. Penn State, Syracuse, and Arkansas.
All right.
I love it. Get them.
But the
All right,
farm.
sorry.
No
I
worries.
love. You gotta love the action. That's what we're here.
That's what
We're
we're here for, the
DraftKings,
action.
live DraftKings Casino
That's
Queen.
right.
I want to hear what you got. All right.
So, a couple of other big storylines on that card is one Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, versus Alex Pereira. Now, Israel Adesanya is undefeated in the UFC at middleweight, which is 185. He did try and go up to 205 to fight for that title and become a double champ and lost. But he is now back down defending his title against Alex Pereira. The interesting component of this matchup is they've both fought. They're both tremendous kickboxers in the past, kickboxing world champions. And Alex Pereira has knocked out Izzy twice.
Okay.
Or excuse me, beaten Izzy twice. One was a brutal KO years ago. Now, finally, Pereira's made his transition into the UFC. This is a fight that everyone's been wanting because, frankly, Adesanya has been somewhat untouchable at 185. This seems to be the guy that most fans think will give him the most trouble.
Okay. We still have one more fight to cover from.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that is correct. I'm sorry.
I don't want to. No.
I
I just don't want to forget because the main event.
The main event.
I'll let. I didn't see anything where. I didn't see anything.
Islam
weird to my eyes or anything. So.
Islam Makhachev versus Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Once again, the Dagestanis reign supreme. They say that this was the storyline behind this is called Father's Plan, and this is again Islam's training partner Habib Nurmagomedov, who was for most people the GOAT, 29-0 when he retired, and Habib's father Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov passed away in 2020 due to COVID, and he always said that his goal was for Habib to be the champion and then pass on the torch to Islam. Very, very cool to finally see that happen. It's been a long road for both of those guys, very emotional in the cage. Habib was able to put the belt on Islam. Really just a cool storyline, and again, showing that these Dagestani guys from Russia are about as built different as you can be.
I mean, the way you're talking, the way they work out, and the way they grow up, it's like the Rocky episode of training in, right?
It's exactly
it's like training with the big tire, moving the tires.
Well, what was
having
the
an
famous
18-wheeler
quote
behind
about
you?
Russia and America?
Oh yeah,
what was
yeah.
it?
It's in America as child you play with dog, in Russia as child you play with bear. And the fascinating thing is that is a very real. It's a very real thing that he did in his.
Yeah. Is
in
there
his
any way?
heyday.
Is there any way we can post that?
We absolutely can. I can help
Yeah.
you guys get this posted.
Yeah, I want you
but
guys to see this. This is
it's
pretty crazy.
unbelievable to watch these Dagestani guys that really come from the most humble beginnings.
Look at that.
And there you go.
He's wrestling with a bear.
That's him.
Nah,
And-
the bear looks cute. It's not that big.
but this
I'm totally
this
kidding.
is him as a kid.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
him as a child. And I want you to notice that bear, it doesn't have like a muzzle on.
Right.
It doesn't have.
Look at that.
This is them just. That's what they do. Like that's what crazy Russian guys do for fun. You don't want to mess with these guys. They're just a different type of breed, you know.
Yeah, my idea of fun is my legs up on my coffee table with my racing form and watching some races with some football. That's my.
That's exactly
I'm wrestling
right.
with my remote. That's about
I'm
as much
wrestling
as
with
I
a cold beer,
Yeah.
you know.
Wrestling with the
and,
remote,
a
and the
pizza,
sports
yeah.
book.
pizza in one here, remote in the other, and my tablet so I can bet in the other.
yelling at the TV. Right.
Yes, yelling at the TV is part of a ritual in my house. Yeah, a lot of F-bombs.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
do foresee with Islam now taking the title, I think he's going to have a long reign. I think he's going to be an incredibly dominant champion and will be one of the future Hall of Famers for sure and one of the future greats, especially at this lightweight division. When you can take down a guy, put him on his back and keep him there for as long as you want, it's just there's not much you can do.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
And if you have wrestled at all in the past, there's just no worse feeling than when a guy takes you down and there's just nothing you can do about it. You just feel like you're drowning. You start losing your air. You get exhausted very quickly. And you just realize that sinking feeling of, I have 5 more rounds of this guy just mauling me. And that's what they do.
Little background on Micah. We're going to give him an opportunity to talk. His nickname's Coach.
Coach.
And I want to just, we got a few minutes left with you, and a little storyline on you and what you do, you know, and what you're coaching. What are we doing here?
Absolutely. So I grew up in wrestling and wrestled here at Westminster in high school, and then pretty much ever since I left high school, I just had such a passion for the sport. It was so good to me, and so for the past close to 10 years now, I've just been going back and helping as a part-time coach as much as I can. I do some one-on-one training with high school kids in the area, both wrestlers and other sports, just doing fitness, strength, and conditioning. But again, it's for the kids who are very, very dedicated, very committed, and want to have success in whatever sport they might be. I try and view it as a mentorship component, so preparing them for college, preparing them for whatever the next step may be, and it's for me one of the more rewarding things that I'm able to do with my day.
Can you use that to prepare me for a senior poker event? Maybe on the mental side. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah. I need help focusing. And for those of you who know me and don't know me, but you probably, you know, I need a little help focusing sometimes.
I think preparation is
about discipline, right?
100%. 100%.
So that can be taken in any.
I always say to my wrestlers, be disciplined or be disciplined. And that's kind of, to me,
we know David doesn't like to be disciplined. So.
that's the way life goes. And it's often reflective of your preparation, of the discipline that goes in. And obviously, it's a perfect translation into poker.
Well, there's only 2 people that can probably discipline me, and one is my wife and the other is my mother.
Yourself is not included.
That's what I'm saying. I need a little help with that, right? And maybe Micah can help me with the mental part.
That's a big part of what I do, because I think that when it comes to athletes, especially the mental component is one thing that most coaches overlook. Everyone's so focused on technique, everyone's focused on fitness, conditioning, but the reality is, I always say it, I think it's true in poker, I think it's true in wrestling. Most matches are won before the whistle blows.
Yeah.
And that's what you look at a lot of athletes and you say, this, you can tell just by watching it. And that's why watching it is so important, because you can look at him and say, this is the most important thing in his life right now.
Absolutely. And that's why I love one of my favorite things in fights is watching in between rounds and just seeing the mental side of the fighters. How do they look between rounds? Are they ready to go? And are they going to go take it?
All right, Micah, thank you so much for coming.
Always a pleasure,
and
gentlemen.
giving us your feedback on the last week and our future November 12th card.
That's right.
And you're coming back?
Would love to.
You'll be back here with Evan Elder?
Would love to.
Oh, man, I can't wait. I can't wait for, I'm going to have a lot of questions for him. I just hope we can get everything in, or if not, maybe Evan will come back with us. But I'm so looking forward to November 12th. Just to remind everybody again, next week is our 1 year anniversary of the winning ticket.
Is that right?
So
Happy anniversary!
Thank you very much.
All
it's
right.
a big deal for us. And next week is one of my favorite weekends of the year, Breeders' Cup horse racing. I'm going to be saying that a lot today and next week. Very exciting for me.
All right.
May not be so exciting for my wallet, but I'm prepared to off, and I'm just looking so forward to it. And if any questions you have, if you're interested in what my area,
I am very much so.
I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I love the ponies.
You do.
So
that's what
not
I'm
enough.
talking about.
Not enough, but you can get me into it for sure. But I have an uncle that always said that fast women and slow horses will ruin your life. So be careful.
Yeah. So just go the opposite,
Yes.
right? That's what you got to do. You got to switch it around, right?
Absolutely. But,
Yeah. All right.
gentlemen, thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you. That was Micah Mills. He'll be back with us November 12th. Big UFC card. Is that correct?
Big UFC card, UFC 281. The headline will be Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Be sure to tune in. That'll be at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, wow. All right. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, Ryan Kinder is absolutely on fire. We got to get him in here. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
All right, we're back live here at DraftKings at Casino Queen. Almost the 1 year anniversary for our show, The Winning Ticket. Next Saturday is our 1 year anniversary of the show. having so much fun. Breeders' Cup weekend next weekend. If you'd like to listen to us every Friday night on 590 The Fan, 6 to 7 p.m. after Bernie Miklas. These two gentlemen are with me every Friday night. Ryan Kinder is joining us. What's going on, Ryan?
What's going on? How you doing?
It's been a few weeks.
It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, what about maybe a month? 3-4 weeks since you've been on?
Yeah. Right before the APO. So,
yeah, right on. Yeah, man. That was a great turnout. Great poker tournament. Now you're back with us here on Saturday. In between all that time, Ryan has been on absolute fire. Sorry, you only went 500 last week. But that's okay. We'll take that all day, right?
Yeah, we'll take that. And I think I lost the first 3 games, so
Nice
to
comeback.
go 3-3, I'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it. Man, but before that, absolutely on fire for the last several weeks. So couldn't wait to have you back. And and it's not always about winning every week, but maybe to some people it is. But it's a long season, right? It's a long season, and we're doing very well. And I remember how I do it. It's we when everything's going well. It's we, and when it's not, it's you.
Right. So hopefully this week it's we.
Yeah.
Last week we had a game that me and Ryan agreed on that came through.
Yeah.
Duke plus 10, I believe.
Yep.
What was the other game that did not?
Duke
though?
plus 10 against Miami.
What was the game that did not
Both
that you
took
both
Duke
loved?
plus 10.
Ole Miss. Ole Miss was
Yeah,
the
what
one.
happened? Let's
Yeah,
talk about
everybody. The bookies cleaned up on Ole Miss LSU. Everybody was on Ole Miss, and they laid an egg in the second half, to say the least. So
We jumped up
LSU
early.
played way better than they have all year, way better than they're capable of, way above their heads. That can happen, when you're at home sometimes, but don't get used to that, LSU fans. It's not going to be how it looks for the rest of the year, I don't think.
Oh, John. All right. Well, before we get into football, I know you want to talk a little bit World Series. Before last night's game, Phillies were plus 160, Astros minus 185. I'd like to see what it changed to today. If you get a chance, one of you guys look that up for me for the series, right? So we have Verlander going. He's 0-7 in World Series starts. He's got a 5-0 lead in the fourth inning. Even when it gets to in the fifth inning, when it gets to 5-3, why isn't he pulled, Ryan? Seriously. What's going on with these managers?
I do not
What's
know.
Dusty
That's
thinking?
the old school Dusty Baker.
Yeah.
I do not know. I think this is definitely the best team meeting the team that's just fate, because the Phillies are catching every break they can get, whether it's manager errors, people performing at the right time, but it just seems like fate. They are now minus 130. They're favorites now to win the series.
To win the World Series. Go from plus 160, down 5-0 in Houston against Verlander, right? I mean, how are you feeling if you're in any part of the Astros, fan, player, team,
Yeah,
right?
You can't get to this game today quick enough if you're an Astros fan. You want to get to this game and try to win this one and put game one in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, but how huge is that mentally for the Phillies, right? Not only taking one, but in the fashion that they did.
Absolutely.
It
makes you think you're never out of a game now.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're down 7-0, 5-0. You're never out of it as far as you're concerned if you're a Phillies.
Ryan, what did you see that? Not only the win, but what did you see that makes you think that the Phillies now? Understand why they're favored. Not only because they're up 1-0, because it's still, I think, in the fashion is what makes them the favorite. Right?
Like you said, we had them up against the ropes. We thought we were going up on 1-0 lead. We had them, I think, 2-0 in the eighth. And then they rallied with that 5-run ninth inning or eighth inning, was it? And it's just they don't ever feel like they're out of the game. They got the firepower and they have the pitching. Pitching was what I thought their strong point was going to be, but
long series, right?
It is a long series.
Houston could win the next 4.
But
right?
You drop this
yeah.
one.
But I think mentally, this is, once again, I go back to the first game with the Cardinals. People say, well, they didn't get a run. They got what, one run?
Right.
Right, okay. So it's 2011 Game 6. Texas didn't even show up for the Game 7. You're mentally defeated.
They were defeated, right.
Here you are. You're Houston. You haven't lost a playoff game yet. You're at home. You're up 5-0. and you lose.
Right.
That's got to get to you inside your head a little bit.
You drop this game and the next 3 in Philadelphia, the series is over if they lose tonight.
I think so too. I mean, I was asked quite a bit last evening before the game started. If who did I like, and I personally no bet, right? I said, but if you're going to bet, there's no value with Houston minus 185.
Right.
I said there's value with the Phillies at plus 160, even though Houston's the better all around team.
Yeah,
And
it's hard to lay
seen that the best team,
185 with either team.
right?
Doesn't matter who it is.
There you go, right there. That's my point. There's no value, and we talk about value every week on this show, and there's no value at minus 185, even if they are the better team. And here's why, right? I'm not saying proving a point, but they haven't won yet. Obviously, it's only one game, but now they're favorites.
Right.
Now if you want to bet the Phillies to win the World Series, you're getting minus 130, right? So for every $100 bet, you could have made profit of $160 before last night's game, and now you got to lay 130 to win 100. That's huge. That's a huge turnaround after one game. And I wouldn't have made the line. I would have put it at Pick'em, me personally, but obviously the line makers know what they're talking about.
Tonight you're looking at the Phillies are plus 120, but as of right now, 91% of the money is on the Astros.
Yeah.
At minus 145.
It's because of the pitching, right? It's because of the matchups.
Zach
right?
Wheeler is
yeah.
he's no scrub.
I get it, but it's because of the matchup.
Yeah,
right? And the plus, you're getting the plus 120 because it's in Houston. So really what they think is it's probably an even match.
Right.
You're getting that plus number because it's in Houston.
Right.
It's a small plus number.
Yeah.
So the line makers believe that this game is probably a pick 'em on even ground.
Right. On a neutral field,
it's
probably
field.
a pick 'em.
Right. So I tell you what, I love baseball. I don't care who's playing in the World Series. I'm going to watch it. And starting off the World Series with that kind of game against the two starters that started, we never would have guessed it'd be a 6-5 game. I mean, they blew away the over-under, right?
Right. And I wonder if, Verlander being the veteran, you said, why didn't he go get him? I think he's been there before, he had faith, but, it would have been the smart decision to go grab Verlander earlier. Yeah.
It's a World Series game.
Yeah.
I understand it's a long series. You want to save your bullpen. No. I mean, the man's 0-7 in World Series for a reason, right? He does have blow-ups.
Right.
So you got a 5-0 lead. Okay, even when it's 5-3. That's what I talked to John earlier about. 5-3, men on base. Get him out of there. What's Dusty waiting for? I don't understand. I don't get it why the managers are they seeing something that the fans, knowledgeable fans see, right?
Yeah, if you think about it, Dusty Baker and those old school managers like that, they didn't put relievers in the fourth inning. They just didn't do that.
Yeah.
People used
but
to pitch
he's
the whole
0-2 in his World Series career.
What's that?
He hasn't won a World Series. He's 0-2 in his World Series.
Oh,
career.
yeah, but I'm just talking about their styles of.
That's my point. You get to this point, and you want to stay with what's working, but it's not working. It's obviously not working for Verlander. It's obviously not working for Dusty. And I'm not going to say his last. I mean, you get to the World Series, it's great and everything, but you want to win it.
Yeah. Right.
And
you're not saving
bullpen. It looks like
arms.
the guy's got his best stuff. Then that's what the relievers are.
Yeah,
for.
I'm not trying to harp too hard on it's only game one, but it was a fun game one. It was fun to watch. But you could feel the comeback mounting, right?
Yeah, as soon as it was 5-5, it was almost like, wow, after when it was 5-0, things were looking pretty bleak. Because I had the Phillies last night. When it went down to 5-0, I'm like, wow, you're an idiot. Why
you
did
throw
you
away
bet?
your ticket,
I'm
right?
already,
But you almost had. I mean, you're waiting for the Verlander blow up, right? You're thinking now is time. Right, but on my brain, the whole time I'm thinking I'm waiting for the blow up to come.
Houston snatched momentum when the bases were loaded there in I think the 8th.
Yes,
the bases were loaded 5-5, and they got out of it. That's when I thought, if they could have came back with a run there, momentum was everything. But then, they went into the extras, and
So they were down 6-5 in the extra innings. They get a double right off the bat, I think, with one out. So they had an opportunity to tie.
That's second and third at the end of the game there.
Yeah.
A hit, you win, but unfortunately for them,
here we are.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So from a betting standpoint, no value in minus 130 for the Phillies, right? What are the Astros at?
It's 120, and the Astros are minus 145
for the series.
And
that can't be right. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, Astros are.
Well, they can't both be minus, right?
Give me one.
I guess they
sec.
could be, but all right. I'm curious on this. Yeah. Just look when you get there. Let me know. I
Phillies minus 130, Astros plus 110.
There
I'm
you go.
sorry, that
So
was back to the game.
now here's where I find value, right? This is what I find. You're going from minus 185. You still got one more game. You still got right one more game at home. You win tonight. It's even. You're talking about a minus 185 team. If they can get through tonight and take tonight's game, you're going to get a plus number on the Astros.
And what you could do.
Now they're favored to win tonight, but you're going to get plus number on the World Series, right? So they're favored to win tonight, but you get plus number on the World Series. I'm repeating myself because I'm thinking this through. That's where I find the value. If they get through tonight's game, you're counting on. If they're favored to win tonight's game, they're supposed to win tonight's game, but you're going to get a plus number on the series. I'll take the plus 110 instead of the minus
They win
185.
tonight, then you're no longer going to get.
That's my point.
Yeah.
What you
So
do
if you think
is-
they're going to win tonight, you need to
But
bet
you
the
need to
series
bet
at the
it
plus
yeah.
number.
Right.
So you bet the plus 110 for the Astros. What happens if the Astros win? What's the Phillies number going to?
Back to a plus number,
You
probably.
bet both of them. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
If you bet the Astros
Because you
tonight.
cannot lose. You're getting plus money on both.
Yeah, I wonder how much room there is, and if you're a small bettor, there may not just be any value to
But
do
if
that.
you're not a small bettor,
If you're a
there
big
is,
bettor, then
yeah.
there's going to be value,
Yeah.
right?
If
you're a $10
whatever the number
bettor-
you're betting is the number that you're betting,
Yeah,
but you're getting plus 110 on the Astros. Astros win tonight. That's going to swing to
Probably
Phillies plus 150 maybe.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you bet both of them. You cannot lose. You're wanting the plus 150.
Yeah, it's a small win either way.
Absolutely.
But there you go. You're locking up.
Yep. You're putting yourself in a situation where you cannot lose.
Yeah, I like that. I'm not a big on hedging. I'm not big on it, but yeah, if you want a guaranteed win and just sit back and watch the World Series, there's ways to play this and get value, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if I'm right now, if I'm betting man, I'm taking Houston tonight on the series plus 110. I'm taking it.
Yeah.
You're talking. They're only down one game, and they were minus 185. Now they're a plus number. Anyway, I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but I keep thinking it through. It's like, I'm not betting tonight's game if I'm betting the Astros, but I am going to take them at plus 110 for the series if I think they're going to win tonight.
Right.
If I'm going to bet the Astros tonight, I'm not going to take the minus number. I'm going to take the plus number for the series and do what you said. If they lose, well, then I'll evaluate and see what kind of number we get on them. Maybe I'll bet more on the Astros to win the series, even if they go down 2 games. Now you're going to get a big plus number.
The problem is the next 3 are in Philly. If it was
Yeah.
a 1-1-1, I would maybe
Better pitching matchups come as we get to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th starters.
Yeah.
For the Astros. Better the aces for the Phillies are 1 and 2. They're both ones. But after that, depending who they pitch, but I mean after that, you're getting to better pitchers for the Astros. So you keep that in mind. Anyway, that's just the World Series, man. It's so much fun. I love the World Series. I mean, I love baseball in general, but so much fun, right? Started off with a bang last night. I don't think we're going to get a 6-5 game tonight. I don't think that's going to happen. Let's see what the over/under is on time before we move on.
Should be 7.
7.
Yeah.
Yep. Looking like
I would probably
money's
take,
coming in on the under.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, I would have. I don't know. You never know about the Verlander blow up factor.
Both teams have such good
either.
offenses, though. I think personally I'm going with the over
Okay.
on that.
All right, I like it. Do you see any value in taking Houston at plus 110 or no?
I just think fate is on the Phillies side. I like the Phillies to win the World Series.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of momentum is on the Philly side for sure.
One of the things is, people say, what kind of research do you do? Look, I know you guys do a lot of work in what you do, but I don't care if you throw darts. I don't care if you flip coins on how you pick. Whatever your process is, and you're putting your own money on it, get it, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't. You want to listen to us, you want to listen to somebody else, man. Have fun, enjoy yourself. I think there's, if you're trying to make money, maybe look a little harder into it. But if you just want the action, man, have a good time with it. That's what it's there for.
Like
right?
you're saying, even not there's some, there was some good, strikeouts going in there and moving the alternate strikeouts. These aces are always good for 4 strikeouts. If a bad game, they're getting 4 or 5. I like to, you stack a couple of those together. You don't even have to pick the winner of the game. There's so many options.
I love prop betting. Yeah, whoever came up with that many years ago, it's fantastic. I'm going through the kiosk last week, and just to give you people who don't bet sports on a daily basis or do, but we go on the kiosk after we're done last week, and just on one NFL game, alternate bets, 364 on one game.
Options. That was how many
Options
bet options?
on one NFL game, and that was for every single game. It was anywhere between 300 and 400 alternate bets on one game. So if you don't want to bet a side, you don't have to.
It can make every play exciting. I know they
Yeah.
have, completing the first pass of the game. You're jumping up and down like you won the game after the first pass, whether you're right or wrong. It can make everything fun, with the small bets on. Not saying it's the smartest bet, but it definitely makes the game fun.
Yeah, in baseball, they've got the next pitch be over under 88.5 miles an hour.
Wow. There you go. You want action, you got it. That's if you're betting live, right? That's crazy. I mean, always be in action. All right, I do want to backtrack to Thursday night football game. Did you get a chance to watch it?
Yep, Ravens. They're the real deal.
That's a real deal.
Yeah, they're the real deal, and I think the Bucks. I don't know what's happening to Tom Brady, but
He didn't look good.
He does
Got to get
not
some
look like
linemen to
Tom.
protect him, man. He's not nearly as mobile as he used to be. Not that he was mobile a lot in his early years, but
I'm surprised Tom
he's got no line.
I'm surprised Tom hasn't arranged with his pool a 12th man for him on offense. I mean, you should be, if you're over a certain age, you should get the extra blocker.
Well, it's tough to watch. You see him sliding in his knee brace. He's picking grass out of his knee brace. He's looking at. I mean, he's looking ages, father times. Finally, he'll be all right.
He'll be all right.
Yeah, we'll come around in 2 weeks and remember this, and we'll say, "Man, what were we talking
Next
about?"
time he wins the Super Bowl, right? He comes back, makes the playoffs. I don't see him making the playoffs. It's going to be a rough road for them.
Well, I mean, in that division.
Yeah, you're right, but
who's going to win that division? Panthers, the Falcons, the Saints.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, that's the only reason they might make the playoffs. They will, right?
Well, like you said, though, I don't have the standings in front of me, but none of those teams have a very good record.
No, that's almost a shame in a sense of, like, when you see now you can be 7-10 and make the playoffs and possibly win the Super Bowl.
Well, look at the Phillies. They had the worst record. We didn't have the extended wild card. They wouldn't have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And now they are in the World Series. So sometimes that team squeaking in adds a little fun, It's professional sport. In college, there's a much bigger gap between the top and the bottom. But in the pros, on any day, you don't bring it. And actually, looking at it, it looks like the Bucks are not that far behind.
Who's in the lead in the division?
Looks like the Falcons.
How do we even say that with a straight face? Right?
We're looking at the Falcons with 3-4 have the best record, and the Buccaneers are 3-5.
So yeah,
the NFC South is a dumpster fire.
It is a dumpster fire, but once again, you get to the playoffs, right? I mean, look at the Giants win 2 Super Bowls, 9-7 going into the playoffs, right?
Yeah. Look at the Phillies, 19 games below the Astros during the regular season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
The last team in of the playoffs pretty much.
Just to make it to the World Series is unbelievable for them, right? Yeah. All right. So Thursday night, how'd you think the Ravens looked?
I think the Ravens,
as bad as the Tampa Bay, Tom Brady didn't look. They only lost by 5.
Right, but it was that last second touchdown. They controlled the game.
Yeah,
well, the first half they went for it. I thought it was kind of dumb. I thought they were going to kick that field goal, go in 10-6. They went for it on their 11, gave the ball back. I thought, going into half, a complete opposite of what that second half. The Ravens adjusted, and man, they look good on both sides of the ball. I think they're a team to look out for.
Yeah, I hope so. I talk a lot about the Raiders. I am a fan of the Raiders, and since the Rams left St. Louis, but I've been a Ravens fan for a very long time. So I'd like to see the Ravens.
Lamar Jackson, he looks more comfortable the pocket.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He's not always scrambling every time, but
He's going to
when
have to be,
he
right?
makes things happen every time, they don't want. A lot of people want their quarterback to stay in the pocket, but when he's scrambling, man, is he dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, listen, I want to get to some college football. We were on 590 The Fan last night from 6 to 7. Ryan and John come on every week and give their picks. We're going to go over them again today. Ryan, let's start college. Do you have an order of early to late?
No,
You
I
don't
don't
have
think
to. You don't have to. Go
I'd
ahead.
say
I just want to follow with you.
but we got Wake Forest. I believe that game's at 2:30, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 2:30. They're -3 today. They were -3.5 yesterday. I told you to buy the hook.
Yep.
Well, it's looking like they're -3 today, so
So we don't have to buy it. Even better deal, right?
Yep.
Yeah. They are -115 or DraftKings Casino Queen. So if you were to buy the hook, you'd probably have to pay. It might be -120. So you're getting -115 at 3.
If you wanted to go to -2.5.
Yeah, you go to -2.5. You're probably -125. I'm probably just gonna leave it at the 3 and just roll with it. If I tie, I push.
Yeah, Wake Forest offense is one of the best in the nation. If their defense can get a stop, they have Sam Hartman, might be the best quarterback in college football.
John, thank you very much, Micah. What? Sounds good. Take care. Thanks again, Micah. John, your input on this game.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Hartman's obviously, I've been big on him all year. They got some receivers, big possession type receivers that he's going to be able to find in the end zone. I just wonder with Louisville at home, Malik Cunningham being an athletic quarterback, I just wonder if they'll be able to make some plays against Wake Forest's defense, which is pretty much non-existent. But yeah, I mean, Wake -3 is an attractive number for sure. They're they are the better team. That's why they're -3 on the road. But it could be a spot where Louisville with some home field and Malik Cunningham being an athletic quarterback finds a way to make some plays maybe. But yeah, Wake -3 is hard to lay off of.
All right, John, Ryan, you can answer this also, but generally speaking, my understanding of a football line is home field advantage is about a field goal. Is that about correct? Somewhere around there, 3.5, 2.5, right? Is that about general rule?
Right.
Yeah. So on a neutral field, right? On a neutral field, this game would be
a touchdown game.
Yeah, touchdown game. Okay, yeah. So take that. I don't know how much you guys wait, depending on the school. Obviously, I think. I mean, when you go into Alabama, when you go into Clemson, when you go into Louisville also, but you go into Wake Forest. I mean, is there any teams that you don't look at home like? Yes, it's home field advantage, but is there really?
These most Power 5 schools have home field advantage, but like you're saying, some of these, there's a big difference between playing in Death Valley and playing, I don't know,
Wherever.
most Big 12
Right.
schools or,
Right. Yeah. So, and do you think that comes into effect with the line makers, or they just use the
Yeah,
general
I mean,
rule?
obviously there's bigger atmospheres from a standpoint of being loud, being a little overwhelmed by the environment if you're the opponent. I remember going to a Clemson Louisville game 2016. Lamar Jackson started the game off 1st and 20. He had 2 false starts and his offensive lineman couldn't hear him. So you've got that versus you've got, maybe going into Wake Forest or going into Duke or UNC or Georgia Tech, where I don't think they're going to have many false start penalties per se, but you still got the travel aspect. Still got teams traveling versus the teams staying home, being more familiar with their environment. So you've got the familiarity of it with a home team versus going on the road. But yeah, there's some aspects that are more daunting than others, but they've still got to travel.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, Ryan, but Clemson is going to the Clemson Louisville game in Death Valley on November 12th. He's going to be doing a live segment from the stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's going to be lots of fun. We're going to have our first live remote Clemson at Death Valley against Louisville. I'm pretty excited about
Go Cardinals.
that. Yeah. Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh, you caught me. I
They're
didn't.
gonna be-
I didn't think you would
They're
say
going to be a
it.
little. It's going to be a little tough for
Go Cardinals! Listen to this
Louisville
guy.
coming on the road to Death Valley.
You know he doesn't really care, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know he's just
I
saying
just
that
love
to-
picking against
Of
Clemson.
course, yeah, I know, right? You should see, after we're finished or whatever. Every time you do that, you can just tell he's like, you can you can tell it gets to him a little bit.
Yeah.
You're a little subtle with that, Ryan.
But most of the money's going to be on Wake in this game. So
yeah, no, I like it. Okay, next up, Ryan, what do you got?
Yesterday, I gave out my pick, South Carolina
What time's the
minus
game?
3.5 of Mizzou. That's a 3 o'clock game. When I went to bet it, I couldn't do it. I can't pick against Mizzou. I just left the game alone. It's a smart bet if we're giving out smart bets, but I just didn't want to bet against my team. Don't want to root against them. You don't hear Clemson John over here picking against Clemson.
But he has. He did. He did say
He
last
did?
week if he
Did
was
he?
a betting man, he would take
I would
Syracuse.
take the points, but
That's
I'm not going to.
but that's what I'm talking about. You did
You know.
see. So you.
I'm not going
You
to
could take
pick on us.
Mizzou
I'm not going to pick us to
plus
lose.
3.5.
Plus 3.5.
If you really wanted to, but you like South Carolina minus 3.
It's a smart bet. I don't know how we're only 3.5 points.
I wouldn't pick us on a minus number, David.
I
wouldn't pick against it if Syracuse was -3. I'm not going to pick Syracuse to beat us.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
but you did say that you
I
like.
said 13 points was too much in that game.
You did.
I
So
knew
there
13
you go,
points
right?
was too much in that game. As
Yeah.
a lot of.
So you can, when Mizzou's favored,
Right.
you can pick the other
both
team
worlds.
and win both.
I think
right?
most Clemson fans would have told you 13 points is way too many in that game.
And it was, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, don't worry. I knew it was the whole game.
Yeah, I called David in a sheer panic mode at halftime. We were in Panic City in Clemson, South Carolina, but
I texted
they
John.
pulled it out.
I said, it'll be fine. It'll be okay. And the last text I sent was lose my number. So, all right, we got more. Let's go.
I like Iowa State, Oklahoma.
What time's that game?
Iowa State, Oklahoma game is a 11 o'clock game.
All right, let's go back.
Looking at right there.
Oh, there we go. All right. Where's it at?
11
no,
a.m.
you're on
Central
the wrong
time, yep.
sheet.
Yeah.
But 11 a.m. Central time. I like, Iowa State's defense is good.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I parlayed it. I took Iowa State to win the game. They're small dogs, I think, plus 105.
Plus 100
Plus
here.
100 here. And then.
So don't take the 1.5?
I didn't. I just took the money line and then I parlayed it with the under because if Iowa State wins, it's not going to be a shootout. If they're going to win, they keep Oklahoma under control and win a low scoring game.
It seems like a big over under.
57
and a half.
Right. For the game, I thought it was, too high. That's why I went with the under. This was also the one I moved, I moved the under to 48.
Yeah.
Just
That's what you said
so we
yesterday.
hit one of these bets, we're going to be profitable.
Yeah, it looks like the line opened at 3 on that and has moved down to 1.5 for Oklahoma minus 1.5. So the money's coming in on Iowa State.
And I agree. That's the side I'm on.
Okay, what do we got?
My last bet is the Syracuse minus 2.5 versus Notre Dame. I think the night game. See if I can't find it.
John, do you know what it is?
Syracuse, Notre Dame. Yeah, that's, let's see here.
There's so many
games.
games.
It's 11 a.m.
It's 11 a.m.
Yeah, but Syracuse is money line now minus 120. I'm going to take a minus 2.5, but the line's moved all the way down to minus 1. So I guess the money's coming in on Notre Dame.
All right, so you're on Syracuse, right?
I'm on Syracuse, yes.
Yeah, Syracuse at home is that dome is just a irregular environment. You talk about home field advantage. It's not that it's a loud place to play. It's just kind of quirky, and you're going to a basketball arena to play, and Syracuse always has that little edge when they're in that dome.
It's kind of like Boise State with the blue field, right?
Sure, yeah.
I mean,
it's
just
kind
something
of a
off.
different environment.
It's
you
just
get them up in
something
the mountains
off.
of Boise, Idaho,
Yeah,
or,
just something off,
yeah,
right?
get 'em
You
in
go,
that
you get there,
dome.
and you're looking at the blue turf, and you're like, man, what's going on here, right? I mean, it makes. I would think it could possibly make you play a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Syracuse in that dome is always going to be tough. they're a much better team than Notre Dame. So there's nothing wrong with thinking that Syracuse should win this game.
All right. Are we done with college?
Those are my college picks.
All right.
I like Arkansas. That's kind of my bonus pick of the day.
-3 or the money?
I'm taking Arkansas money line.
Okay, they're -170 on the money line.
It,
Maybe throw that into a parlay.
Yeah, I would took the money line, but -3, maybe just buy the hook. -2.5, see what the value is there. Play with it. But
it looks like 67% of the bets are on Arkansas, and 54% of the money is on Arkansas. So it's kind of split with the money. Auburn being at home.
The big bettors must be betting on Auburn then.
Yeah. Auburn being at home, it's always the little caveat there. Arkansas is a much better team. Auburn's kind of a mess. They're wanting their coach fired every week. But,
right. Poor quarterback play.
Yeah, poor quarterback play. And they've got a great defensive line, but I don't know if everybody's bought in right now as from a player perspective. But we'll find out a little bit today when Arkansas comes to town how that defense performs. KJ Jefferson's an athletic quarterback for Arkansas, so
I think Auburn's one of those teams too. Once you drop a couple games and playoffs are out of the, when you have no chance of making the playoffs, it's almost already a losing season for them. Just a bowl game win. They're one that expects to be in the college playoffs. Year in and year out.
Well, I think they're in more of a rebuild mode this year. I think that the fan base was wanting to be a little more accelerated in the rebuilding than they are now, but I just think it's a mess now. They're wanting to fire their coach every week. They're, just if you watch the second half of the Georgia Auburn game, they were kind of going back and forth in the second quarter, maybe at halftime. The second half, Auburn gave up defensively. Georgia ran the ball up and down the field, threw it up and down the field. That Auburn defensive line started giving up.
Right. Does their coach deserve to be fired, do you think? Is it his fault? Is it something he took over? Because he hasn't been there long.
Well, he hasn't been there long, so it's just, there's a thing where in college football in an environment like a big-time school, like anywhere, Auburn or, Bama, Tennessee, Georgia, Clemson, Florida State, these big schools like that have that tradition, have that history is you've got to be bought in with in the community.
Right.
Like within the community, you have to have the fan base on your side. And this Auburn fan base is not on their coach's side right now.
Coach Harsin, where did he come from?
Boise State.
Boise State.
Yeah, a lot of Boise State fans were glad to see him leave.
Okay, that tells you something.
Yeah, it's just kind of a mess in Auburn right now.
All right, I want to get to a little NFL, so let's switch over. You use that. I'll use the old paper route, the DraftKings right here. These are the updated lines at DraftKings at Casino Queen. We're here every Saturday morning from 9 to 11. Every Friday night from 6 to 7 p.m. on 590 The Fan. Boy, we have a bunch of fun every Friday, and here Saturday, man. This place is, wow, the line's getting big. If you're going to wager today, I would suggest getting here soon. The line's getting big for these 11 o'clock games right around the corner. Ryan, NFL.
I know one thing I like on the NFL is Cardinals-Vikings over. Right now it's at 49. I've been looking at it all week. But Cardinals finally got DeAndre Hopkins back with Kyler Murray, kind of gelling with that offense. That Thursday night game, they put up a bazillion points in that Thursday night game with the Cardinals.
Why, Ryan?
But yeah, it's 49. So
I like the over there.
Yeah, over 49 on the Cardinals-Vikings. Cardinals going to Minnesota. I just think that Kyler Murray's kind of rolling with that offense now when he's got DeAndre Hopkins back. It's a different offense when he's got Hopkins in there.
Well, go ahead. Speaking of a little fantasy action, I know that our fantasy expert Pete Sipple likes this game a lot, and he does like playing Kirk Cousins and Jefferson. And I'm going to look up who he gave us to use as a wide receiver.
He said the over. What did you say? The over
was
49. 49. Yeah, I like that. I definitely like that. The Cardinals defense is not, they're letting up points. They let up 35 against the Saints last week, or 34, I believe. So I definitely like the over in that game as well.
Yeah, the Cardinals have given up 34, 26 to the Panthers. You give up 26 to the Panthers, you're in trouble.
All right, Ryan, what do you got for the NFL? John, take a look at this. If we have time, we're going to go over
I
a
like.
little NBA.
I think the Patriots bounce back. They're playing the Jets. The Jets got momentum. I think most people think the smart bet's probably the Jets, but Bill Belichick, he's gonna bounce back. People are talking New England's done. They're stupid. He's the GOAT for a reason. They're gonna bounce back and beat the Jets this week. Leave the points. I think money line. I think they're a slight favorite. Take the points. Doesn't matter. They're gonna win the game outright. But I might leave the points alone. It'll be a close game.
That's the Pats, right?
Yes.
All right, Patriots. I know you got another one in there.
I like the Dolphins -3.5 over the Lions. The Lions, they look good to start the season, but the last couple of weeks they've been looking like the Lions of last year.
Yeah, I think with the Lions getting DeAndre Swift back though, they could get to rolling at home a little bit. That's why the line is so small on the Dolphins. Obviously, with the Dolphins being 4-3 versus a 1-5 team, Detroit's always kind of
a little sneaky. Let me tell you, last
sneaky
year
at home.
they didn't win a lot. They win any games last year?
Nope.
They didn't win any games last year, but they covered.
Didn't they tie a game?
They did. But they covered, I believe, most of their games. I think they were like 70% covered. I could be wrong here. I'm gonna look that up. I could be absolutely. Let's just leave that.
Yeah, they're always a little sneaky at home.
DeAndre
Swift coming back too.
3-13 with it.
3-13.
Yeah. So,
but I am curious how many games against
they're they're on pace to get their 3 wins again. But
yeah, what we care about is covering.
There was 17 games last year, so 3-13-1.
3-13-1. Yeah, but they do look better this year. They were the number one in offense the first 4 games of the season. So
Jared Goff is
a
pretender, though.
I agree.
He's a pretender.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not going to be looking to make any, playoff runs by any means, but you might can find some value on them here or there, especially when they're at home.
I like Dan Campbell. I think he's a good coach. I think he was just handed a pretty bare roster. Yeah,
a mess.
Not too many stars over there, and he, loses Matt Stafford and gets handed Jared Goff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, what do you got? You got anything else for us?
My last pick of the week is Titans -3 over the Texans. Texans quarterback Mills has never been a favorite in a game. He's just, I like Derrick Henry. He's going to run all over him. This is one that I don't think is going to be very high scoring. I was going to go with the under, but it's 40.5, so they're expecting a low scoring game.
That's a really low NFL over under.
That's why it made it hard, because I was like, oh, I'm definitely hammering the under. Then I checked, and I'm like, oh, I was expecting it to be a little higher than that. So I'd probably stay away from it and just go Tennessee -3.
All right. John, anything else? Now, I wanted, before we get in John's picks for the day, and I'd like your feedback on his picks. But, John, I wanted you to look at the NBA tonight. We don't cover a lot of NBA, not yet. We'll be getting into more and more as weeks go on. Does anything stick out to you for this evening?
No, I cover the NBA on a nightly basis when I'm betting on it.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. So I got you the sheet there.
Yeah,
I'm
it
curious
looks
if you
like
anything.
Just looking at things this morning, it looks like the Thunder Mavericks is one thing that sticks out to me. Thunder have been scoring some points in the first 5 games. So it looks like their point total is 108, 117, 106, 110, 94 against the Clippers. Or no, 108 against the Clippers, actually. So let me recap that again. 118, 108, 106, 117, 108. So the Thunder have been in the mid 100s, mid teens, 115 range. So the over under on the Thunder Mavericks game is 218. So Thunder already averaging 105 to 107 a game. And then they're looking at a Mavericks team that's going to put up some points too with Doncic. Luka's going to put up some points for sure. So I don't see any way that this game doesn't get to 218 points. With the way the Thunder have been playing. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the Thunder's averaging 29.5 points a game. So Luka's averaging 36 points a game. So I have no idea how this game doesn't get to 218. One thing that you want to watch with the NBA that a lot of bettors have been running into is 5, 10, 15 minutes before tip, there'll be lineup changes that you may not have known about. So that's a caveat just to watch out for, but I don't think it's going to affect a total of 218. I expect this thing to be in the high 220s, low 230s for sure.
What also it affects is daily fantasy. It's really hard to set your lineup in the NBA.
Yeah.
With that going
because
on.
even without injuries, there's a lot of resting in the NBA where they're just there's enough games that hey, we're taking tonight off without a pre-warning.
Yeah, but I have no idea how that Thunder Mavericks game doesn't get to 218 with the way Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka's been playing. So that's something to watch out for sure.
All right, so moving on, it is the last half hour of the winning ticket this week, and what that means, it is Clemson John time for college football picks. Ryan, you gonna stick it out with us?
Yes, sir.
All right, so any input you have, just get right on in there what John has to say. But John, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so you guys know the way I like to do it. I like to start off at the 11 a.m. Noon Eastern games to see if we are digging ourselves out of a hole, David, or if we've got some profit to work with. So there's 10 games at the 11 a.m. slate, it looks like.
Is that all? Just 10?
Yeah, looks like we've got 10 games to start off with.
To
there is an 11:30 game, Miami, Virginia. That's an interesting game because every year we hear Miami's back, right? The U is back. But, that's another case where the U is not back this year, that's for sure. And they may be headed in the right direction, but not this year. But that's an 11:30 start with Miami, Virginia. One game that's kind of sneaking under the radar here is, you guys remember a coach, Jim Mora Jr.?
Yeah.
So, anybody know where he's at? He's at the University of UConn. He's at UConn now. So last year, UConn was the worst college football team in America, and it wasn't even close. They were awful. But now they've got a home game against Boston College. UConn is getting 7 points. Didn't think there was a way in the world where UConn would be 3-5. Everybody looked at them, thought they were 1-7, 0-8. They're going to get 1 or 2 wins. But Jim Mora Jr. is rebuilding there. He's got some coaching experience, obviously. So they're getting 7 points with a beat-up Boston College team rolling in. BC's got some injuries.
7.5 now.
Looks like one of their running backs is out. So, 7.5. So I like taking UConn plus 7 to 7.5. Just don't lay below the 7 points. But I like UConn plus 7 in this game. That's something to start the morning off with. TCU West Virginia is something I talked about on 590 The Fan yesterday. So TCU's going on the road. That's why this thing is minus 7. If they weren't going on on the road, this thing would be minus 12. So I like TCU minus 7 here, going on the road to West Virginia. West Virginia got a home win against Baylor in a shootout. I just don't think it's going to be the case here. TCU is a much better team. TCU steamrolled Kansas State last week. Kansas State jumped out to an early lead, and then TCU woke up and said, hey, we're the better team, obviously. We're going to steamroll you guys. And they did. So TCU minus 7. Liking that pick for sure, going on the road against West Virginia.
Anything to add?
Oh, no, I really like that pick. TCU with that Oklahoma State game really impressed me. They found a way to win that game. And TCU's one, I think that's a sleeper playoff team. I think they're one that, they play in a division where they, the SEC, every single week you got to watch your back. They got a schedule that favors them. They could be a playoff team this year.
Well, at their schedule, they got Texas Tech home. Then they go on. This will be the biggest game of the year for them, going forward. TCU is going to go to Austin, Texas on November the 12th. So TCU, Texas, that's going to decide if TCU is going to be able to sneak into a Big 12 title game undefeated.
In your schedule, I think it matters when you play them, because before Quinn Ayers was their quarterback, I think TCU rolls them. But now, man, Texas looks like a different team with Quinn Ayers.
Yeah,
I mean,
Quinn Ewers is a good quarterback. I think TCU has just as good quarterback play. I think they're the better team, but they got to go on the road to Texas. So, that's going to be TCU's toughest game of the year for sure going forward. But they're much better than West Virginia here. I know West Virginia's at home. Home field can mean a lot going all the way from, Texas to, West Virginia, big travel trip there. But
is that Prodigy's team?
Yeah, that's our man Prodigy's school is West Virginia. He's a Mountaineer.
And they're rowdy up there talking about having the home field advantage. That's one team that shows up, good or not, they show up for their team. West Virginia's rowdy.
Yeah, it's a good home field environment. I just think Duggan's a much better quarterback for TCU, so I just don't know how TCU doesn't win this game and covering 7 points. West Virginia's 3-4, so over under 69 in this game. Big number on the over-under.
Yeah.
Big number.
Yep.
And then looks like Ohio State, Penn State. This is going to be a big game, probably the biggest game of the 11 a.m. noon Eastern time slate. Penn State's getting 16 points. And I think this line has moved quite a bit as well.
14 and a half
at DraftKings today. Yeah, 14 and a half.
Looks like it's got some late movement on it. Penn State plus 16 is what it's moved to. So
we got 14 and a half here.
So people are hammering Ohio State still, even with all those points. Yeah. Is that who you're picking?
Well,
you can get 16 now here.
It's tough to go on the road. With Penn State, they're gonna be ready for that game. Big fan base, but it is a kind of a sleepy noon start, but it's the biggest game of the year for Penn State. So, I like taking the 16 points. Looks like Jackson Smith and Jigba is on the injury report for Ohio State is out. So their best receiver by far is going to be out. I think that Penn State at home plus 16 points is going to be the play here. I'm comfortable laying 16 points or getting 16 points with Penn State being at home for sure.
It's 15 here now. If it moved, how comfortable are you? If it moves to 14, would you still take it?
Anytime 14 is a big number, obviously, because you win a game by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
you're still not losing. But I'd be comfortable doing plus 16 on Penn State for sure. Another game that I talked about on 590 The Fan yesterday was Florida State, Georgia Tech. I said Florida State's giving up 24 points. I didn't even know. It didn't matter who they were playing. I don't know why Florida State's giving up 24 points here. You can just take the other team. In this case, it's Georgia Tech. But, Georgia Tech plus 24 points. I have no idea why this line is so big.
You got a lot of early games today.
Yeah, well, 10 plus the Miami-Virginia game is 11, so we've got a big early slate here. But Florida State giving up 24 points, I have no idea why. So take Georgia Tech plus 24 here. Over-under sitting at 48. I'm going to leave that alone. And another game, Arkansas-Auburn. We talked about this earlier with Ryan taking the Razorbacks. It's just a lot of people are going to be taking most of the money was on Arkansas. Most of the bets were on Arkansas. So, the only caveat here is Auburn's at home in a desperation mode, trying to save a little bit of their season, save their coach's job, if that's something they value even. They're sitting at 3-4. They lose this game, they're going to be 3-5. They're going to be 3-5 with Bama at the end of that schedule. So it's not looking good for the Tigers of Auburn, that's for sure. They got Mississippi State after Arkansas.
Says that after Micah leaves. Right?
Yeah, Mike is an Auburn attendee. He went to Auburn, went to school in
Yeah.
Auburn. So,
Well, they beat
but
Mercer and Mizzou, so I think their wins are pretty weak. That
yeah, they were gifted a game
from
against
us.
Mizzou.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy's walking into the end zone and he fumbles the ball, walking into trying to stretch the ball over the goal line and the pylon there. It was just a
could have
weird
just
ending.
started first and goal. He could have just there was no
Yeah.
reason to stretch the ball out in that situation. That was
Yeah,
a
and not
very
just stretch
Mizzou
it out,
thing.
dive, tuck
Yeah.
it, and dive.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, they were gifted a game. Without that gift, they're 2-5. Without that gift against Mizzou.
Yeah.
So it has not been pretty for Auburn this year. They lose today. They're 3-5 with Mississippi. They're going to Mississippi State next week. They got Alabama at the end of that schedule. So it could be sad news in a losing season and not making a bowl game for Auburn. So I don't know how this coach survives this year.
Well, if they win today, I still don't see a way they win a bowl game. They're going to beat Western Kentucky, but I don't know who else they beat the rest of the season to become bowl eligible.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. So I don't even know how they make a bowl game they lose today. So they're going to be trying to salvage their season.
I think Mike would
sure.
win. I'm not going to speak for him. Well, I'm going to speak for him. He'd probably agree with you. I mean, probably agree with you. Not what he wants to hear, but probably would
If
have
not,
to.
he's pretending.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
well, I mean, they've lost their fan base. Auburn's coach has lost their fan base. The school's kind of given up. I mean, I'd be surprised if this stadium's 80% full today, 90% full. I'd be shocked.
And the funny thing is, you go to an NFL game, that's like great, right?
Right, but
you go to a college fit game, it's not empty, but it's not the
that's
same.
That's because people identify with the school as being part of the community.
Yeah, for sure.
It's split in professional sports cities where it may be a baseball city. Look at St. Louis, for example. You had the Rams in football, the Cardinals in baseball. The Cardinals are going to sell over 3 million tickets every year in baseball. They're going to have over 3 million fans in the seats, win or lose. It is a baseball city. So that's kind of what it is in St. Louis. That's so you go to the game, Rams game, and it was kind of like, oh man, this is
half the stadium's empty.
Yeah, half the stadium's empty. And the other half of the people are in plain clothes or something. It's like, everybody's sitting down during the game. I don't know if anybody knows this, but during big time college football games, you don't sit down typically. You stand the entire game. So, yeah, that's just kind of the difference there is, people identify as that's part of who we are as, that community.
Do you see the motor running?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it?
Yeah, that's it's just different.
Yeah.
College football's a different animal.
It started the engine. It might be idle for a little while, but the RPMs are going to be the closer we get to game time, even if it's not Clemson at 11.
Yeah, Clemson's got a bye week this week, so I get to sit back and
blood pressure be a little lower this
be
week.
unemotionally attached and get the blood pressure in order, so yeah, we'll be okay this week.
Watch that blood pressure. Right? I mean, I've seen you in action.
Yeah. Well, you got to get intense,
Hey, I mean, if you see me watch a race that I have money on and it's close.
You're one of those guys jumping up and down with the horse.
You have no idea. Yeah. There is some video out there of me. I will have to maybe someday. I'll post it, but I know that it's been out there on Facebook of what I'm like when I got a little action on a horse race. So,
for sure.
I get it. I totally get the energy for sure. And,
yeah. I know. Next up, it looks like Oklahoma, Iowa State. Ryan touched on this earlier. Oklahoma's going on the road. Oklahoma's been kind of a mess this year, obviously. I'm just going to leave this game alone for me. I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think anybody would be shocked if Oklahoma wins or Iowa State wins. Iowa State being at home, this is a team that, looking at it, lost to Iowa, or they beat Iowa. Iowa's a mess, though. They beat Ohio. They had a cupcake against Southeast Missouri State. So that's their 3 wins this year. They're on a 4-game losing streak. But here's the thing, guys. It's not always who you played, it's how you play, obviously. And how did you lose those 4 games? This is why the line is so small, because Iowa State loses to Baylor by 7. Iowa State loses to Kansas by 3 on a last-second field goal. They missed a last-second field goal to tie the game. They lose to Kansas State 10-9 by 1. And then last week they lose to Texas, they lose to Texas 24-21 2 weeks ago, rather. They had a bye week last week. But, they've lost all 4 of their games by a touchdown or less.
And we're talking about ranked teams here, Kansas State's ranked, Texas right there, Baylor was ranked. Yeah, they're
Kansas,
playing every, Kansas, that before they lost their quarterback, they were
rolling. Kansas was rolling. So, Iowa State's been competitive in just about in every game pretty much. A lot of low-scoring games, though. This is a big total, Ryan.
Yeah.
58.
Yeah, Ryan
That's
says,
the one I was hammering the under.
move the line if you can.
Yeah.
Right?
58
You're
points,
already famous on this show for moving the line, some crazy numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
That has been my biggest hits. With our exact scores are moving the line, big numbers.
And you absolutely can do that here at DraftKings and Casino.
So at 58, you're probably
line, right?
looking at a number of 27.5, 28 for the first half.
Yeah.
So first half under might be something to look at if you're going in that direction, because the last 3 games for Iowa State have been 45 total points, 19 total points, and 25. So 45, 25, and 19. It's gone nowhere near that.
I like the way you're thinking on the under first half, betting both halves, on the under, because like he said, I mean, that's a real high over. If you lose both, then of course, that was the bad idea. But I like his idea. I like betting under first half, under second half.
Yeah. Yep. Big number, 58.
Notre
Dame Syracuse is the next game. I know Syracuse is at home. We touched on this earlier. Got about 12 minutes to get this in. I think Syracuse in the Dome is a great pick here. Notre Dame going on the road. Syracuse laying 1.5. So I'm going with Syracuse. Much better team here. Notre Dame struggling to try to find their identity. Dino Babers has been at Syracuse for a very long time. Very experienced team with a great running back, athletic quarterback. So I'm taking Syracuse. I got about 12 minutes to get that in, but let's jump on the orange here at home. And then Miami, Virginia, that's the 11:30 start. I like Virginia at home. Virginia getting 3 points at home against an embarrassing Miami team right now. Miami Hurricanes are just embarrassing this year. They lose to Duke big time last week. They're 3-4 on the year, and they very well could be 2-5. They lost to Middle Tennessee 45-31. You lose to Middle Tennessee and you're Miami 45-31. That's it's going to be a long year.
They had a lot of hope this season. They started 2-0 and everybody said the U is back. They're back, and quickly.
I ever tell you my Middle Tennessee story?
No.
I'm going to tell it.
All right.
We got time.
Yeah.
So I bet Middle Tennessee. It was a random game. I bet it, right? So, guy was saying, "Who's you have today?" I said, "I bet Middle Tennessee." He goes, What do you know about Middle Tennessee?" I said, "It's on TV and you can bet it." That's what I know about Middle Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
That's why if you lose to Middle Tennessee and you're Miami, you might have some problems this year, obviously. But let's jump on Virginia +3 there. So we got about 10 minutes to get these in. Virginia +3, Syracuse -1. We talked about the Oklahoma-Iowa State over-under being 58. Looking at the under there. And jump on this Georgia Tech +24. I don't know why Florida State's giving up 24 points in any game. And then TCU -7, UConn +7.5. So that'll conclude our 11 a.m., 11:30 slate with that Miami-Virginia game.
I'm already exhausted. You wore me out, right? I don't know if I'm going to have any energy for the next. Let's go.
Oh, we've got a lot of energy. We waited all year for Saturdays, David.
We got 26 days in a row of football.
Yeah, 26 days in a row without a break.
Get that energy up.
Yeah, you got to get the energy up, But yeah, looking at the afternoon games, one thing that I noticed here is Illinois and Nebraska over under is 50. So Nebraska is just a mess. Obviously, they've already fired Scott Frost. They've given up on the dream of the old player from the '90s, Scott Frost, coming in, revitalizing the storied Nebraska Cornhuskers. Not going to happen. Nebraska's a mess this year. They're just awful. Illinois minus 7.5 here is the spread here. I'm more looking at the over-under. It's 50 here. I don't think that this is going to get to 50 here. I just don't see it happening. If you look at Nebraska and their offense, 14-13 against Rutgers. They score 14 points against Oklahoma. Oklahoma doesn't have a defense to speak of. So I just don't like their offense. Illinois is a top 5 defensive team this year. Who would have thought that we'd have said Illinois, top 5 in defense in the country in late October?
They could have easily won that first game.
Yeah, they very well could have won their first game. They'd have been 7-0.
Yeah.
They're first in the Big Ten West. They're first in their division. They're eyeing a Big Ten championship game. Big deal for Illinois there. So, and if you look at the rest of Illinois' schedule, they've got Nebraska today on the road. They've got a terrible Michigan State team coming to Illinois. They've got Purdue coming to Illinois. Purdue can present some problems maybe. Offensively, they can. Defensively, Purdue has no defense. Purdue couldn't stop anybody if you gave them the U.S. military and chainsaws. They just couldn't stop anybody at all. But, Purdue coming into Illinois, Michigan, that's going to be the big game for Illinois is Illinois going on the road to Ann Arbor November 19th. So they've got one big game left here, Michigan, maybe Purdue. But, yeah, they're sitting in a nice spot, David, 6-1. They very well could have won that first game as well. Looks like they stubbed their toe against Indiana. That was a big stub there because you look back and you're 6-1. Your lone losses to Indiana, you're like, oh, we could have been 7-0.
I know you get around. Is it common here in Illinois how you can't bet Illinois college teams in Illinois? Do every state do that, or is this just an Illinois thing?
It's just an Illinois law thing.
Okay.
So with like the sports betting, you can't bet on your home state.
Okay. But it's not like that in the other states. That's just more of an Illinois thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So you might have to go offshore to find that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Illinois 50 is the over/under there. I like the under. And Wake Forest, Louisville. Obviously, all the money's on Wake Forest here. -3 with Sam Hartman being at quarterback. I'm a little afraid of this one. I don't know why. I just feel a sneaky suspicion.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
I just feel some sneakiness here with Malik Cunningham and Louisville. I'm going to stay away from this one, guys. But all the money's coming in on Wake Forest -3. Rightfully so. They're the better team, ranked 10th in the country. Got a lone loss against Clemson in double overtime. My Tigers pulled that one out on the road in Wake Forest. But I'm staying away from that one. One game that I love today is Oklahoma State, K-State. I love Oak State making some plays here against Kansas State. Oak State with Sanders at quarterback. Sanders has a chance to be the best quarterback that's ever played at Oklahoma State. This kid is a phenomenal quarterback. He makes play after play after play. Beat Texas last week. Over-under sitting at 56. Over. I just love Oklahoma State +1.5 here. Love that 2:30 game. Oklahoma State +1.5. So I jump all over
he's
that.
From Nebraska, right? K-State's quarterback is that?
Martinez, yeah. He used to be at Nebraska. he transferred out of that mess. Good for that kid, because that was a mess, So he's at Kansas State here. Kansas State's having a decent year. They're sitting at 5-2. A loss to TCU. They had a big lead, 28-13 in that game, and then it was 38-28. They didn't score after that. Deuce McAllister found the end zone for K-State, made it 28-13, and after that, it was all lights out. TCU took over from there.
I know they're definitely a running team. I'm not sure about the running defense, but they are definitely a run. Kansas State runs the ball a lot. I'm not sure about Oklahoma
they're going to chew up a lot of the clock.
Yeah.
That's why this line is at 56, is because the clock's going to be chewed a lot in this game. But, I like K-State here. Big on K-State Oklahoma State. I love Oklahoma State plus 1.5 here. I've been big on Oklahoma State all year. If you look at their schedule, look at Oak State's schedule. You've got K-State today. You got Kansas without. Kansas is kind of, back and forth this year with the last few weeks. They got kind of embarrassed, I think, against Oklahoma. Iowa State, Oklahoma, and West Virginia. So Oak State's got a nice little schedule here. They could be in that Big 12 title game as well. But I'd go Oak State plus 1.5. And Kentucky, Tennessee is a 6 o'clock game I've been looking at. Kentucky, Tennessee is going to be a nice game to get back and watch tonight, obviously. I wanted Tennessee. I've been big on Tennessee all year, David. I've been, big on them all year. But this last week or so has been so exhausting to sit around and listen to these Tennessee fans act like they've been to the party for the last 5 years. Tennessee, you got to the party. You've been dormant for 20 years. You've been asleep for 20 years. And I'm reading post after post. You can't get on Reddit or any of these blogs without reading how Tennessee would put up 50 against Clemson.
Look at how angry he gets.
The fact that Tennessee fans think that they would put up 50 against Clemson, give me a break. You just got to the party, Tennessee. You just got there. You got a transfer quarterback from Virginia Tech, that's doing pretty good this year. I've been big on Tennessee. You're making me sit here and, have to talk bad about Tennessee when, I've been big on them. But I'm tired of these Tennessee fans exhaustingly, day after day last week act like they've been to the party for the last 5 to 6 years. You just woke up from a 20-year nap, Tennessee. Save it for somebody when you get to the playoff or get to an SEC championship game. Tennessee's got to get past Kentucky tonight, and then they got to play Georgia next week. So guess what, Tennessee fans? You lose the Georgia game, you're not going to make the SEC championship game, and your dreams of a playoff are going right down the toilet as well. So, save it, Tennessee fans. Save it when you get to a SEC championship game. When you win a big-time bowl game, then you can start chirping. You got your win against Alabama. Congratulations. It had been 15 years. So, I like Josh Heupel. I knew this offense in August. I knew this offense was going to be rolling. If you look at Tennessee, they're playing good now. They got an overtime win against Pitt. An overtime win against Pitt. You know what happens to Clemson if they have an overtime win against Pitt? Everybody's talking about overrated. So save it, Tennessee fans.
They're already talking about Clemson being overrated.
Yeah, save it, Tennessee fans. In a year when you have an overtime win against Pitt and you think you would score 50 on Clemson, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see a 2 versus 3 or a 1 versus 4 or even a bowl game. Give me a bowl game against Tennessee right now. I'll take a bowl game, if we – I don't know. I don't know how we'd stub our toe. But we're going to be in the playoff, Tennessee. I don't know where you're going to be.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't know where anywhere in the country you can get this.
He got fired up there.
I love it.
I'm reading it.
Let them have their moment. They just beat Alabama. It hasn't even been a full week, and he's tired of listening to it.
If roles were reversed, I'd like to see the rant.
Well, no, it's a different expectations with Clemson versus Tennessee now. So if you look at Clemson, the expectation's already there. If you look at Tennessee, they've been dormant and asleep for 20 years. There is no expectation.
All right. I'm going to have to wrap things up. Boy, I would love this for this to continue. We're gonna make some shorts out of this. This is great. We gotta make some shorts out of this. This could go viral. He could go viral with that, right? The rant of Clemson John. Wait.
I think Tennessee's got a great offense. I've been on Tennessee's bandwagon. Just don't force me to get off the Tennessee bandwagon by these exhausting fans.
All right, you want to give us our input on air at thewinningticket21.com. We're here every Saturday morning at live DraftKings at Casino Queen from 9 to 11 Central Time. Friday nights, 590 The Fan from 6 to 7 right after Bernie Miklasz. Micah Mills, we appreciate him coming on. Ryan Kinder, thanks. Appreciate it. Hope you come back soon.
It's been fun.
And, of course, Clemson John.
We got some. We do have some horses next week, right?
We do. And
yeah,
look out
we're
for
excited
my,
about the horses.
Breeders'
folks.
Cup special. None of this happens without our producer Russell Sides. We appreciate him more than you know. So thank you, Russell. For everyone, my name is David Sharp. Until next week, thanks for watching.